Absolutely. Thanks, Gary. I appreciate it. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. To our friends in Europe, welcome to today's Masterclass, Uniting Technology and the Creative Economies, and our capital city of Atlanta and the state of Georgia. On behalf of the state of Georgia and the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce and Georgia Power, we want to thank everyone for joining us today for this really exciting discussion on Atlanta's secret sauce regarding our prized creative economy. We're going to have some fun, and we have some amazing panelists that have a unique perspective on what makes Atlanta special and our state thriving in our creative economy. My name is Alan Fox, and I have the best job in the world. I am the Director of Creative Industry Partnerships for the Department of Economic Development for the state of Georgia. What does that entail? Well, I work to expand our creative industries in the state. That's our film and TV production division, that's our digital entertainment division, and that's our music division that we have here in the state. And I work to break down these silos so that the industries can work together in a supportive creative economy ecosystem, which we will explore today throughout the masterclass. And ultimately, our goal is to continue to make Georgia the entertainment creation capital of the world. And we are really excited to talk to you today about that and all the just amazing things that are going on in our state relative to that. I hate that we're connecting via screens today versus being there live in person. However, speaking of screens, Georgia is on your screen in more ways than one. It's what you see in the movie and film production industry. It is what you play on this device, whether that be gaming, whether that be esports, whether that be more technology. Georgia, there are links to Georgia from this device. And most importantly for today, it's what you listen to. It's what music that you put in your ears when you're running or you're driving your car or you're just hanging out with friends. There is a link to our state and anything that you do regarding entertainment from our screens, which is even more important now due to COVID. And all has links to our creative economy. From what you watch on TV, Georgia is the #1 film production destination in the world. Since 2005, over 5,000 productions have been filmed in Georgia. You know them: Black Panther, Avengers, Captain America, The Hunger Games, Jumanji. And then we have award-winning TV shows that everyone's binge watching now, which, you know, we're super excited about. Ozark, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Cobra Kai, Lovecraft Country, the animated series, Archer. We could go on, but Georgia has a relationship, and the city has a relationship with Netflix, Disney, Marvel, Warner Brothers, Universal. So, you know, COVID put a brief pause on that, but the industry is rapidly coming back in our state. We have 30 productions that are now filming. So again, just underscores Georgia's leadership in that. What you're playing on this device. There's a link to our state and our city. We're the Silicon Valley of the South, and Atlanta's the intersection now of digital entertainment and technology. Of course, we have Google. Of course, we have Microsoft in our state and a thriving fintech industry, but we also Atlanta was named the esports capital of the nation. We have DreamHack, which is a gaming festival headquartered in our capital city, and video games such as Smite and Paladin that we play on our device, that we play on our screens at home, all developed here in the city. Why? Well, we have the best unmatched talent, and we have a strong HBCU and college university system that thrives with our talent pool. We'll talk more about that today. What you listen to. So everyone's kind of shared on Instagram the 2020 Wrapped, what their top songs is, and I can assure you that there's a link to Atlanta in the majority of that music content, which our music content actually surpasses per capita New York and Seattle. What really separates us is the organic talent that we have in our music industry. We have musicians, producers, composers from all genres here in the state. We're the hip hop capital of the nation. We have Usher, we have T.I., who is behind a trap museum in our city. We have Ludacris, who's now a professor at Georgia State University, Andre 3000, Outkast. The list goes on and on. I cannot go through this exciting ecosystem in the allotted time. We're going to talk about that today. We have Spotify and Pandora have offices in our city, and Brian Calhoun will be speaking about that. So, as you can see, I'm super excited about creative industries, but I'm not the person you came here to see. You came here for our panelists. We have some great panelists today that I think that can talk about supporting our creative ecosystem, as well as what's in Atlanta's secret sauce and what does the future look like in our city as we expand entertainment creation. So we have Karen Houghton with the Atlanta Technology Village, who's one of our panelists today. We have Ryan Wilson with the Gathering Spot, which is a great kind of ecosystem support destination in our state and our city, and then Brian Calhoun with Pandora. that'll speak to the supporting our musicians and local talent here in the city. But I'm going to turn it over to Karen with the Atlanta Technology Village to kind of give her perspective. Hey, Karen, how are you?
Hey, good morning. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Hello, everyone. My name is Karen Houghton, and I'm the Vice President of Atlanta Tech Village. We are the 4th largest tech hub in America. Now, the village was founded in 2013 by a man, my boss, named David Cummings. And David is a serial entrepreneur who founded Pardot, which was a marketing automation company that was acquired by ExactTarget and then eventually Salesforce. And that was acquired for just a small $100 million. At the time, it was one of the largest bootstrapped SaaS acquisitions on record. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if I had a $100 million exit, most folks would probably take some time off. But David did not, and instead he turned around and purchased a large building in the heart of the financial district in Atlanta that would become Atlanta Tech Village. And our mission is to create a special place for tech entrepreneurs and to give back to the startup community that had helped give David his success here in Atlanta, Georgia. Today, 7 years later, as I mentioned, we're America's 4th largest startup hub. And we've served thousands of startups who are on their quest to change the world through technology. In just 7 years, Village startups have raised over $1 billion and created more than 7,500 jobs in Atlanta, and we're a driving force behind the rise of innovation in our region. I personally am also a venture partner with Atlanta Ventures, and Atlanta Ventures invests in entrepreneurs through a startup studio that supports outstanding founders who are building companies from scratch and early stage investments for startups building software as a service in the southeast of the US. Both of these organizations work hand in hand to support and inspire entrepreneurs who are on their quest to change the world through technology. Now, talking about the Atlanta ecosystem as a tech entrepreneur, at Atlanta Tech Village, one of our big goals is to make Atlanta one of the top 5 tech cities in the United States. And 5-10 years ago, that might not have been on your radar, but today it's a very achievable goal because the Atlanta ecosystem is on fire. As you guys may know, in startups, density matters. And the community that surrounds you equates to the resources and the capital and the talent available. In Atlanta, we now have 57 funds and 24 accelerators just in Atlanta, and that number is growing. Not to mention that dozens of Fortune 500 and Fortune 1000 companies, quality colleges and universities, and of course, an incredibly low cost of living. Small business is a huge driver of the economy, and our city and ecosystem recognize and support that importance. For example, startups just coming out of Atlanta Tech Village in the last 7 years have raised over $1 billion in capital to date. And in 2020, which has been a really tough year for so many of us, 3 local startups have recently achieved unicorn status of a $1 billion valuation or higher, which would be Calendly, Greenlight, and SalesLoft. I also was asked to just touch on diversity in tech really quickly. So we believe entrepreneurship is the single greatest mechanism for changing the world, and that the future is good with the right people in it, and that means we need all people in it. And Atlanta has some of the best leaders and builders in the nation, and we're one of the more diverse. And that plays a significant role in the opportunity and secret sauce that we have as a city, in addition to our tech and creative economy. Now, we have a ways to go in building an equitable table, especially in the deployment of venture capital. As you may know, venture funding for female founders has hit its lowest quarterly total in 3 years. And while overall US venture capital investments in 2020 are on par with previous years, those funds have not necessarily reached female business owners. Investment in women-led companies are actually on pace to be one of the worst in 2017, and that's not even considering race. But we also need more underrepresented founders in the game because only 5% of startups are owned by women. And all of this is despite the fact that women-led companies perform 3 times better than those with male CEOs. So remember that the gender divide is real. And I think we can all agree that we as a community, as a city, and as a people are better than that. But when it comes to unraveling systemic racial and gender bias in the investment community all over the world, the data tell us that we're still at the beginning of a long road. But like a good entrepreneur, I'm forever optimistic because the good news is that we are talking about it openly and it is seen as a problem that we are all actively trying to solve. Atlanta especially has a lot of leaders who deeply care about creating a more equitable and fair playing field. And we have a community full of people who are actively working on bridging that gap. And if anyone can do it, Atlanta can. Actually, Atlanta will do it. So with respect to the uniqueness that every region, city, and country bring, I firmly believe that Atlanta is one of the best places to grow and build a startup in the United States. It's a big city with a tight-knit feel, and we truly are the city of hospitality with some of the hardest working badass entrepreneurs around. It's certainly not required to be successful, but if you're not building in Atlanta, I encourage everyone to get connected to whatever ecosystem you are part of, because it will increase your chance of success. We truly believe that entrepreneurship is the single greatest mechanism for changing the world. So keep dreaming big and building the next great thing, because the world needs you.
Thanks, Karen. That is an amazing perspective on the unique secret sauce Atlanta has, which that is the diversity of entrepreneurs that we have. And speaking of which, we have a local native gone good, Mr. Ryan Wilson, who's part of the Gathering Spot, which has become, I think, this just hotbed of fostering connections, not only with our community, but with our creative ecosystem. That is something unique that we don't have anywhere else in the country. So Ryan, thanks for joining us, and I hand it over to you.
Thank you, Alan. It's so good to be with all of you, and I'm so excited to talk about Atlanta. Anyone that knows me knows that talking about what's happening in this city is one of my favorite things to discuss. To give a little bit of background on the company, the Gathering Spot is a private membership club rooted in community and culture. We opened the club in Atlanta in 2016, but I didn't have the idea to start the business in Atlanta. I was actually in Washington, D.C. and in law school. And although I'm from Atlanta, I had been away from the city for almost 8 years. And what I started to notice on my journey away from home was all of the things that you've heard Alan and Karen talk about. This is truly a remarkable place because of the very unique ecosystem that exists in the city. I can't name another city where you do have a thriving network of colleges and universities sitting next to some of the largest companies in the world and having their headquarters based in the city rather, sitting next to a very dynamic startup ecosystem with some of the greatest companies I think that are being started, having their headquarters here. And then there's the creative community. I don't think that Atlanta has ever received the credit that it deserves for all of the music that we have been producing in the city for a very long time. But when you combine the music community now with the film community, we really have a legitimate entertainment ecosystem that makes all of the ideas that we create in Atlanta and in the state be able to go anywhere. I think Alan is completely correct in that if you're looking at your cell phone, there is some connection to the work of someone that is in the state and is probably in this city in Atlanta. And so from DC, I'm starting to see those worlds collide. To Karen's point, Atlanta is a big city, but it feels like a neighborhood. We know each other across traditional lines of difference, which makes the work that we're able to get accomplished here just different than what you'll find in other markets. And so the Gathering Spot represents that. I had the idea of trying to bring together a new type of private club where we would reimagine the type of people that are in these spaces. And so our youngest member is 21, the oldest is 88. All of the industries that I just mentioned are represented. And we do programs and bring together different experiences to connect that community. All in all, our goal is to have a person that wears a suit and tie every day sitting next to a person that wears a t-shirt and jeans. And we think that when we can get those two people to talk to one another, that's really where the magic happens. And so for the almost 5 years now on the west side of the city, that's been our work. We've hosted over 7,000 experiences. The club is divided into 3 parts: event space where we host different experiences, a restaurant and bar. We believe that bringing people together through dining is important. And then we have workspace that's open 24 hours a day. And so through dining, through experiences or events, and through work, that is what the gathering spot is. But I've long said that being more than being in the space business, we're in the community business. And what has made the club special are all of the different connections. I was joking earlier this week. We have everything from marriages that have been produced from members of the club at this point, to business partners and strategic partnerships between startups and some of the largest companies in town that we've seen produced, all because there was a context to know one another. This work led us also to acquiring a music conference and festival called A3C, which has been happening in Atlanta for the last 15 years, but was purchased by the Gathering Spot and another entrepreneur in Atlanta that's doing very special work named Paul Judge. And through that platform, every October, we bring together, again, a very diverse group of people to have very similar conversations. And so I encourage you, if there's any interest in learning more about what's happening here, this city is very, very welcoming to new people. You will see it feels like a new company that is relocating to the city. It feels like every week. But we welcome you to come and join us, because I believe that the fundamentals of what exists in the city will propel us to being one of the markets that will drive future innovation for a long time to come. And so if you happen to visit in a post-COVID world, the Gathering Spot is absolutely here for you. And I look forward to connecting in the future.
Thanks, Ryan. That's just a really great anecdote about, I think, the diversity of folks that are members of the Gathering Spot. You know, you've got a t-shirt and blue jeans and a suit from, you know, an 88-year-old member, and I think, would you 12-year-old member? What was the youngest?
So we've got a lot of TGS kids, but 21 officially.
21. Okay.
Members.
Yeah, that's amazing. And again, if you've never checked out the Gathering Spot, it's just such a unique location that we have. We're super proud of it in the city. Pivoting now, I think, to organic talent that we have, just like Ryan mentioned, the organic talent that we have in the city of Atlanta, which separates us from everywhere else. You know, we can build the infrastructure, we can have the incentives, but again, it goes back to the people that make this city and this state exciting. And Brian Calhoun with Pandora has just been on the forefront of that, helping develop the musicians and the folks in the creative industries, giving them the tools they need to succeed. And I'm sure he has a wonderful perspective on that. Brent, I'm going to hand this over to you. Thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It's very difficult to follow the three of you. You guys really said a lot of the things that are on my mind and really in my spirit and the way I feel about the city. By way of context, I am an Atlanta native and spent a number of years working in the music industry in various capacities in other cities, including New York, DC, and most recently the Bay. But I think the unique positioning of the city really compelled me and my wife to come back to the city here, and very grateful that we did. I think it's, and not only was it for me personally, but I would venture to say that Pandora did a similar type of analysis about where the company wanted to be. So Pandora is also, Pandora was acquired by SiriusXM. The company's got 70+ million monthly active users, operates in the United States, one of the largest streaming platforms in the world. But when my wife and I were considering where we wanted to be, because we were living in the Bay, we went through obviously a process to make the determination of what was going to be best for our family. And Pandora went through the same type of process shortly after my wife and I had made that decision. And it really came down to a few key things that made the city really stand out from anywhere else. One is the culture. So very connected to, I'm very connected to the music and culture. In addition to working at Pandora, I work with a lot of A-list celebrities, a lot of A-list artists, and I provide digital strategy for them. I work with an artist management company called the Blueprint Group, who has an office here. Between Blueprint and my other clients, we represent people like Lil Wayne, G-Eazy, The Roots, Jill Scott, Brandy, TIG, which is a great label here in Atlanta. So the culture is here, the people is here, and I should also say, like, this is not a recent phenomenon. Like the arts and Black culture has been an important part of Atlanta from long before I was even born. And it has just continued to grow and to evolve over the years. And a lot of people credit, and I think rightfully so, the establishment of LaFace Records here in the late 80s, early 90s, and with the massive success that they had, and in establishing Atlanta is a sort of a modern day cultural hub for music, but it is continued throughout that time for the past 25, 30 years. And even though there's been some ebbs and flows, there was, in fact, it was interesting because I think there was a short time where there was almost a little bit of an exodus to Los Angeles, and there was a lot of music production kind of people were like, I'm going to LA, but almost all of those people have come back. And all of my clients that I work with and others, at some point on their creative journey, they are coming through Atlanta. Everybody is coming here. So in addition to the culture being here, and this has been mentioned a couple times, I think both Karen and Alan mentioned this, but the cost associated with living here is so much less than it is in any other city. And when you look at sort of like the value proposition and what you get for your money, like I was most recently in the Bay, and there's in the Bay Area, so San Francisco, I know our European folks who are attending may not know the some of the specifics about these cities within the country, but it is extremely expensive. The San Francisco Bay Area was very, very expensive, and it's great. And there's lots of really smart, great people, technology, innovation that is happening there. But I think when you consider what Atlanta has to offer and the cost associated with it, there's really no comparison. It became it became a relatively easy decision for us. And then I think the other thing, and this is a big thing really for Pandora, was the access to talent. So the pipeline for getting quality engineers, creators, builders in this city is incredible. The competition in, again, going back to the Bay Area, which is where Pandora is based in Oakland, which is right next to San Francisco, the competition for talent is extremely fierce. And one of the challenges that a lot of the technology companies have there is retaining talent, is getting talent to commit to come and then retaining them. But I think that when you look at what Atlanta has to offer, and the pipelines that you can have from the HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities, plus Georgia Tech and Kennesaw, University of Georgia, like there is a tremendous pool of extremely talented people to draw from the university system, but also because the city is so attractive, people from other parts of the country and other parts of the world are relocating here. So I think it creates an interesting mix of, and to Ryan's point, sort of like the mix of people that are here, from the guy who wears a suit and tie and maybe is more like the banker type to the guy with the tattoos and the tank tops. So like, I'm extremely happy to be a part of it. I encourage everybody to consider visiting, certainly in a post-COVID world, but it is a tremendous place, and I'm super excited to be a part of it. And I also just say that even for what I've been doing outside of the artist management and with Pandora, is I created a suite of tools and a book and a suite of tools for independent musicians to manage their business called the Music Business Toolbox. And the agencies and the people that I'm working with on that are all based here in Georgia. And I'm working very closely with with Kennesaw State University, which has gotten excellent top 10 music business schools in the country, the Joel Katz School of Music Business and Entertainment, and I'm an associate professor, executive in residence there. But the university systems, I'm also finding, are doing a whole lot to contribute to the growth of the economy and the culture.
Thanks, Brian. I wrote down a couple notes, about what you just said, and it really is about the culture that we have. It all boils down to the culture of, I think, support that we have, not just for local talent, but like you said, being a magnet, just enticing folks from all over the country and the world to come to Georgia if you are in the creative industries, if you do content creation, whether that's writing, whether that's a musician, whether that's a tech entrepreneur on that. So it's just this magnet that Atlanta has that I think is just so incredible that it really is. It's a quality of life married with the industry excitement that Ryan mentioned that's going on. So I think we're going to start a little Q&A, maybe a couple questions. I'm going to switch to the Q&A mode. So if anyone has any questions, and we'll kind of throw it out. Here's a kind of a question around, I think, the disparity that we have outside of the city of Atlanta with the rest of the state. Karen, I don't know if you can speak to that. We love what we do as but we know that there is, some opportunities outside of the city, particularly in regards to technology and the creative industries. I don't know if you had a specific, answer to that question.
It says, how do we think about investment outside of Atlanta? I mean, the good news is money travels, right? So like if you have a good business that is bringing in revenue, you can get investors. Is it more challenging in a more rural area? Absolutely. It's harder to get that network going, the talent, but it's also, if you're tech, like you can work from anywhere. So there's certainly trade-offs. And I know you mentioned rural Georgia, but there are still little hubs like where all of our cities are. Atlanta's the biggest, right? But you have Augusta, you've got Savannah, you do have other kind of areas in more South Georgia that are working on developing similar kind of ecosystems within the ecosystem. And for us in Atlanta, like I know a lot of the players in those other cities, and they'll connect them to me and I'll connect them to other folks. So to all of our point earlier I've had people from Silicon Valley come out and I'm like, one of the core values at Atlanta Tech Village is to be nice. And they're like, what is that? And I'm like, we're the city of hospitality. Like startups are hard enough as it is. Like, why make it harder? We can be a supportive community and help each other. So it may seem a little fluffy, but like when you're in it and you're working really hard and having those high highs and low lows, I think it really pays off to know that you're in a community of people who support you. So it's a complex kind of question, but my kind of overall summary would be it's definitely tougher there, but it is possible. If you've got a good business, you can get investors. So it's more about how do you get connected and in front of those investors. And a lot of that's where I'm like, connect to some kind of community that will just expand your network if you don't already have one.
Great. That's a great answer to that. It is something that we have in Atlanta that we're excited. We are Southern and we are hospitable and we welcome everyone. And I think inclusion and kindness is part of our DNA here in the South. So it is refreshing to have those conversations with people that are in industries and they're like, wow, everyone is so friendly here. Absolutely. We love it. We're happy to be in the future of entertainment creation, which is Georgia. I mean, we're sitting in the catbird seat. I think all three of us agree with that. The future of entertainment, the future of creativity is the state of Georgia, is the city of Atlanta. All three of us could go for 4 hours talking about that. We all know that, and we would love, I think, to connect with anyone outside to talk about the different specific avenues that we deal with, our portfolio between all four of us, our music and digital and technology, on why Atlanta is the place for you and your business. So I know we've reached kind of the end. I want to thank the panelists for just their incredible insight into the secret sauce of Atlanta and technology and our creative ecosystem. We have, and I think we have, a community room titled Atlanta's Creative Industries set up, and the community rooms are under the breakout tab at the top, if I'm right, Gary, on that. And we would love to kind of connect with those that are part of our masterclass, and if they want to discuss more with Ryan or Karen or Brian or myself. If your schedule allows, please join us after the masterclass. But we thank you so much for your time. We are excited about the future of our capital city, and we would love for you to be a part of that as we continue content creation for this. And what you're watching on TV and what you're listening to and how you're interacting with technology. So thank you again, and we appreciate everyone's time today. Thank you.